Elon Musk is on his way to becoming the world's first trillionaire. You know about that. You've seen the headlines. You've watched the clips. You've read the posts on social media. But instead of asking yourself, how did he do it? Your mind instantly searches for an excuse. He was born into wealth. Someone helped him. He got lucky. And just like that, the conversation is over. You don't investigate. You don't look for lessons. You don't search for inspiration. You dismiss the story. You don't bother to find inspiration in his rise to wealth simply because that's what a lazy mindset does. It sees the truth, then immediately looks for a reason why that truth doesn't apply to you. And Elon Musk isn't the only example. You know about most successful people, the artists, the actors, athletes, the entrepreneurs, the content creators, the game developers, the people who built extraordinary lives. You've heard their stories, yet somehow all of those stories end up in the same box. They had help, they had connection, they got lucky. You can't start anything because no one is there to help you. But here's the dangerous part. The moment you convince yourself that everyone successful was simply helped, you give yourself permission to do nothing. Because if success only comes from luck, connections, or being born in the right family, then why should I even try? Why should I start? Why should I take risks? Why should I work hard? You sit still and wait for the help that never comes. That's the thing about laziness. Most lazy people don't see themselves as lazy. They see themselves as unfortunate, unlucky, underrated, misunderstood. They think the world is holding them back, when in reality, they've been holding themselves back all along. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. When most people hear the word lazy, they imagine someone sleeping all day. But laziness is much more subtle than that. Imagine this. You're sitting on the couch playing video games. The room around you is a mess. There are plates with leftovers from days ago. Empty wrappers cover the floor. Dirty clothes are piled in corners. Banana peels, fruit scraps, and random junk have become part of the decoration. You notice it every day. You just never do anything about it. You go to sleep at 3 a.m. You wake up at 1 p.m. The moment you wake up, you promise yourself, today I'm going to clean this place. But first, breakfast, then television, then social media, then a few videos, then a few more. And suddenly the day is over. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. You don't hate cleanliness. You don't hate productivity. You don't even hate discipline. You just keep postponing them. That's the art of laziness. Not refusing to do something, simply delaying it forever. You stop going out because going out requires effort. You have to shower, get dressed, talk to people, make conversation. So staying home becomes easier. You avoid phone calls. You ignore messages. You disappear from social events. Not because you dislike people, because interacting with them feels like work. You spend hours scrolling through videos and reels. Not because they're important, because they're easy. Your bookshelf is full of books that promise to change your life. Books about money, discipline, success, business, mindset. You bought them with excitement. Read the first few pages, then never touch them again. And somehow you still tell yourself you don't have time. You joined a gym once, maybe twice. You felt uncomfortable. You thought people were judging you. You convinced yourself you didn't belong there, so you stopped going. Not because you couldn't do it, because quitting was easier than being uncomfortable. Then opportunities arrive. A job offer, a business idea, a chance to learn a new skill, and every opportunity is met with an excuse. This job doesn't pay enough. The hours are too long. I deserve better. Maybe some of those reasons are valid, but after a while, every excuse starts sounding the same. The truth is that laziness rarely looks like laziness. It disguises itself as comfort, as waiting, as overthinking, as excuses, as bad luck. And that's why it's so dangerous, because the lazy person almost never realizes they're lazy. They simply believe they're waiting for the right moment, a moment that never comes. The problem with laziness isn't just that you avoid work. The real problem is how laziness trains your brain to see work. Most people think laziness starts with action. It doesn't. It starts with thought. Before you avoid the work, you convince yourself the work is too much. Think about this. Imagine I give you a book with only 10 pages. You'd probably finish it in one sitting. Your brain wouldn't see it as a challenge. Now imagine I give you a book with 100 pages. Feels bigger, but still manageable. Then 300 pages. Then 500 pages. As you complete each one, your mind adapts. What once seemed difficult becomes normal. But now imagine a different scenario. You walk into a bookstore and buy 3 books. One has 50 pages. One has 300 pages. The last has 500 pages. You place them on your desk. You look at them. And instead of choosing one and starting, you begin calculating. That's a lot of reading. This is going to take forever. I don't even know where to start. Suddenly, your brain stops looking for solutions and starts producing excuses. The books haven't changed. The pages haven't increased. The only thing that changed was the story you told yourself. And because of that story, you end up reading none of them. That's how laziness grows. It begins in the mind before it appears in your behavior. The same thing happens with almost everything in life. starting a business, going to the gym, learning a skill, applying for a job, building a YouTube channel. The moment you convince yourself something is impossible, your brain stops searching for ways to do it. It starts searching for reasons not to. That's why scrolling through social media feels easy. Not because scrolling is naturally easier than every other activity, but because you've trained your brain to see it as easy. You never tell yourself, this reel is too difficult. This post requires too much effort. This video is impossible to watch. Your brain receives one message: easy. So it responds accordingly. The amount of work you feel isn't determined only by the size of the task. It's determined by the meaning you attach to it. If you constantly tell yourself something is difficult, your mind magnifies the difficulty. If you tell yourself something is possible, your mind begins searching for a path forward. One mindset creates obstacles, the other creates solutions. And that's why many lazy people don't even realize they're lazy. From their perspective, they're being realistic, they're being cautious, they're waiting for the right time. But the reality is that they've trained their minds to reject effort before effort even begins. Laziness isn't a condition you notice immediately. It's more like a slow prison. You build the walls yourself, one excuse at a time. And because you've lived inside those walls for so long, they start to feel normal. The dangerous part, you may never realize you're trapped until someone points it out. By then, years may have already passed. Laziness doesn't destroy your life overnight. That's what makes it so dangerous. If every excuse immediately ruined your future, nobody would be lazy. If every hour wasted instantly cost you $1,000, nobody would procrastinate. The problem is that the consequences arrive slowly. So slowly that most people don't notice them. Comfort is like a loan. You enjoy the benefits today, but the payment comes later. You skip one workout, nothing happens. You skip 1 week, still nothing happens. You skip 1 year, now your body is weaker, your energy is lower, your confidence is disappearing. The cost finally arrives. The same thing happens with money. You spend today, you spend tomorrow. You tell yourself you'll start saving next month. Years pass. Now opportunities appear and you can't afford them. The bill has arrived. The same thing happens with knowledge. You tell yourself you'll read later, learn later, study later, improve later. Then one day someone younger than you gets the job you wanted, builds the business you dreamed about, creates the content you always planned to make. The cost has arrived. The frightening thing about laziness is that it steals from your future to comfort your present. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you're making a trade. You just don't see the receipt. While you're watching another episode, someone is practicing. While you're scrolling another hour, someone is learning. While you're making excuses, someone else is building. And eventually, the gap becomes impossible to ignore. One day you wake up and realize the people around you have changed. The friend who started with nothing now owns a business. The classmate who struggled in school now earns more than you. The creator who had fewer subscribers now has an audience of millions. The person who was once behind you is suddenly far ahead. And that's when the hardest question appears. What have I been doing all these years? Most people think successful people are obsessed with working. They're not. They're obsessed with not wasting time because they understand something lazy people don't. Time is the only resource you can never earn back. Money can return. Opportunities can return. Even relationships can be rebuilt. But yesterday is gone forever. Every day that passes becomes part of your story. The question is whether you're writing a story of growth or a story of excuses. Because 10 years from now, you'll arrive somewhere. The only difference is whether you got there by design or by accident. And that's the true cost of comfort. Not the hours you lose, but the person you could have become. Laziness begins as a thought, then it becomes an excuse, then it becomes a habit, and eventually it becomes your identity. That's when the real damage begins, because habits are simply repeated actions. The things you do every day slowly become the person you are. A lazy person doesn't wake up one morning and decide to ruin their life. It happens gradually. One excuse at a time, one avoided responsibility at a time, one comfortable decision at a time. And after a while, something strange happens. You stop looking inward, you start looking outward, you start looking for someone to blame. The government, your parents, your relative, your teachers, the economy, the politicians, the rich, the successful, anyone except yourself. You say your wealthy relatives are selfish. You say successful people had advantages you never had. You say the system is unfair. And maybe sometimes it is. But none of those things change your situation, because blame has never solved a single problem. Think about school. The teacher told you to study. You didn't. The exam arrived. You failed. Years later, you're still blaming the teacher. But the teacher isn't suffering from that decision. You are. Think about opportunities. A job was available. Maybe it wasn't perfect. Maybe the pay wasn't great. Maybe the hours were difficult. You rejected it. Then another opportunity came. You rejected that too. Eventually, there are no opportunities left. And now you're angry at the world. But the world didn't make that choice. You did. This is the hardest lesson about laziness. It doesn't matter who you blame. The government doesn't suffer the consequences of your inactivity. Your parents don't suffer the consequences of your excuses. Your relatives don't suffer the consequences of your procrastination. You do, every day, every year, for the rest of your life. The truth is painful, but it is also freeing, because the moment you stop blaming everyone else, you regain control. And control is where change begins. As long as someone else is responsible for your life, you remain powerless. But the moment you accept responsibility, even for your mistakes, you become dangerous. Because now you can finally do something about them.